Now, Jamie, we talked about the Falcons and how, David Onyemata and Grady Jarrett has the potential to be special. But I think there is a special person already in this city, and he is the front office person, the big wig, the big man making all the decisions in the front office. His name is Alex Anthopoulos. And I think he just continues to prove that he has the best front office in baseball. Last night, A.J. Smith-Shawver made his debut, and the 20-year-old did not disappoint. How about this? Smith-Shawver retired 7 out of the 8 batters that he faced. How cool? Let me ask you this, because, you've been in this city for a long time, Jamie, and you cover all these teams, all the professional sports teams for just as long. How cool is it to just know that the general manager, the person making all the personnel decisions, knows exactly what he's doing?
We've had that a long time because regionally, and of course, no, I'm not originally from Atlanta. But when it comes to the Atlanta Braves, they're not just the city; they're regional.
Yeah,
they just are.
Yes.
With
Southeastern.
Yes, their inception,
the SEC of baseball,
Turner,
basically.
Yeah, all of that. So,
Yes.
so understanding what the '90s Braves were with that, with coach, GM, and so on, we know what that's like. Now we know it fell off for a tad bit, but under Alex Anthopoulos, Brian Snitker, man, listen, if you don't trust in AA, you something's wrong with you, man. Because listen, we just go and find players.
Yeah.
They sign very team-friendly contracts.
Yeah.
And they are able to spot talent. I know there was a period of time where, the farm system was depleted just based on what the team was trying to do.
Right.
But I tell you what, in the last few years, especially under Anthopoulos, man, you can see they can spot talent. They make deals that are team friendly, and obviously players want to play for this franchise. And so when you're talking about someone new being able to come up and pitch, we've talked about the injuries all year, and yes, they've impacted them greatly. But
Absolutely.
when you're talking about the back half of the year, just watch this team for a second. Because the same thing happened last year before. Starting off great, had some rough patches in late May, early June. You saw what the series was against the Oakland A's, wasn't our finest hours. But
Yeah.
at the same time, you can see just finding players, finding those diamonds in the rough. You can see what Smith-Shawver has been able to do so far. And just in a magical performance right there, you can see the potential in what he's able to do. And again, we don't know who's going to come up. Once this team gets fully healthy, once you have Max Fried come back and just players that have been injured, we're also starting to hit the ball. Eddie Rosario starting to do his thing. Ozzie Albies is starting to do his thing as well. So when you're talking about this team being full bear, or just being at their full complement of players, along with players that AA is discovering in this system that we have, they're not worried. The fan base often worries, like, we need to go get an arm. We need to go get an arm. And that very well may still happen. But trust in AA. Just be patient. Kind of like, the Aaron Rodgers. Relax. It's going to be okay. AA got it. Trust in AA.
Yes, trust him right now, because he is like a AA battery. Just keep going and going and going and going and going. And I think that, like, this Smith-Shawver kind of is eerily similar to a guy like Spencer Strider, because, he started out in the bullpen and he was just throwing gas all over the place. And then Smith-Shawver is kind of doing it like, too. I don't want to put any pressure on the man, but he reminds me of that, man. He's a guy that's been brought in to have, to do long relief. You know what I'm saying? And we know the Braves need that right now, because Jesse Chavez is kind of filling that role. And, Jesse, he's getting up there in age, and he ain't necessarily the guy to be going multiple innings at this point in his career. So, yeah, man, shout out to AA for continuing to find these guys. And if Smith-Shawver ends up being in that starter rotation, I would not be surprised by the end of the year. So
wouldn't be surprised at all.
Absolutely. Now, there was another thing that went down last night with the Atlanta Braves. We kind of find out that, Marcell Ozuna got benched because he hit a nice long shot, right? And he obviously the way he was looking at it, he thought it was going out of the park, but it ended up staying in, and the dude ended up only getting a single. And come to some situations and everything like that, he ended up on third base. And more than likely, if he had done what he was supposed to do, which was probably get a double at least, he probably would end up scoring. So but in the end, like you mentioned earlier with Eddie Rosario hitting that grand slam and at the top of the ninth, he didn't necessarily lose the game because of that. But it is one of those things that Brian Snitker said, you know what? Hey, man, you need to sit your butt down somewhere. And Sean Murphy came in and subbed in for him at DH. But do you think that was the right decision, though?
I think it's the right decision when it comes to Ozuna in general. You got to think about what's been going on the last few years, man. And,
a lot.
And
non-baseball related, too.
Listen, you know what I'm saying? You're not Ronald Acuna. You're not that guy.
Yeah.
And he's been injured, but he has a style and flair that, people like. But also you can see his maturity, taking place as well and I think, you can kind of give credit to that and the kind of season he's having. But when it comes to Ozuna, man, you just gotta, Brian Snitker has done a great job in bridging who he is. You got to talk about a Braves lifer that's been in this system 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
At least. And so he's an old school manager.
No doubt.
He's done a good job in knowing who his players are. But when you do something like that and you don't hustle, you know what's coming. And I'm sure Ozuna understands as well. You can, do a little bit of showboating, but you got to understand your place when it comes to certain stuff. And I'm not just talking about, just him as a player in general, but just the history in things that have gone on. And he's, improving as of late as well. Like, give him his credit. But at the same time, you're trying to win ball games. You're trying to get this team back on track. Hey, do what you're supposed to do, especially when it comes to the old school rules of baseball.
Yeah, that was one of those rules where I don't mind it being enforced because, like you said, like, dude, like, I understand, like, trust me, like, as a person who loves when cats doggone, doing their little dance, coming around the bases and everything like that, but when you don't know for a fact that bad boy is out of there, like, you need to be running, dude, because like the ball was in the air for 6 seconds. Like, that is an eternity, in sports. You know what I mean? So I think that, I think, and I like you mentioned how he's been doing well. Like, he had over 1,000 OPS in the month of May, and there's more than likely, Chucker has been talking about on his show on Hitting Hard about the dude might get Player of the Month for the month of May. So I think it was a matter of, Marcel's starting to get a little comfortable, like, oh, I'm doing my thing now, and everything back to normal. Nah, Jack, like, don't get comfortable. I'm glad that Snitker kind of brought him back down. Like, come on back down to earth a little bit. We understand you've been doing your thing on the field, but that doesn't mean that you can start hot dogging and pimping shots and everything like that, because like ballparks are built differently. Like, that probably would have been out in Truist Park, but like parks are built differently, so you can't assume that bad boy is going to go out like that. And even if you did for a couple seconds, I'm like, oh shoot, that bad boy might not come in. You might need to take off running, and I think that the Snitker kind of brought him back down to earth, and I really, really appreciate him for that. So now, Ozuna, stop smelling yourself, as the old folks used to say, and keep your head down and keep working. That's my advice to you, and my advice to all the listeners of ATL Day Ones. Guess what, y'all? We appreciate y'all. Like, all my guys, Archangel and Mr. 404 out there saying they're everydayers. If you're an everydayer, we appreciate you guys coming and rocking with us each and every day. Like you said, like you can do just like Archangel did, or just like Slim Pickens did. They dropped those comments in the comment box right there. Just let us know you are an everydayer, and we really appreciate you. And we might give you a shout out on the show as well. Get your name out there. You might become famous by being mentioned on our show. You never know. And if you're everydayer, you might be a day oneer. If you've been here since day one on ATL Day Ones, we might have to come up with something special for y'all, because y'all been rocking with us for over a year, and we really appreciate you guys just for that.